Hello everyone, NadLabs here. Today I'm in a new Godot project and we're going to be making Godot, not Godot, but VR hands, a VR pointing finger, and a VR open hand. So like we can switch between the three, and not two fingers, but just one finger, an open hand and a fist, and we're going to get straight into that. So I'm going to make a simple, player scene. So player is our node, and then in our node 3D we have our XR origin 3D, so XR origin 3D. That is going to be where like our camera is. Then we have our XRController over here. So it's going to be tracking our left hand. So I'm just going to find the -Z. Nope. This one is this, so this direction is forwards. And I'm just going to place my left hand over there on the left. And I'm going to duplicate, Control D to duplicate. And I'm just going to place my right hand on the right. So like that. What I'm going to do, just to make it easier for me to like see what's happening, I'm going to... Where is it? I'm going to place a small box on my hand. But yeah, I'm just going to place a mesh instance there. And I'm also going to do the same on my right hand. But the thing with my right hand is I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and rotate it. So I'm just going to name this player. And that's about it from my knowledge. Yeah, that's about it. And I'm just going to test and see if this works. But I know it's not going to work because I have to, make my player script. And then I have to go over here to the Godot docs. And I just have to copy in their, in their setting up XR, introduction to the XR system in Godot. Just scroll past all of this really, and just, copy paste this. This is the magic that we need. I don't need to explain it much further than that. Once you have it copy pasted, you'll notice that this is still screaming at me. It says XR Origin 3D requires an XR camera 3D child node. Oops. So I did forget to put the camera. XR camera there. Now that's how we're going to see in the world. I was wondering what was missing. And once we have all that set up, you can see we need to enable stereoscopic view, which is essentially just telling me in the XR tab of the project settings, I have to enable like the XR option, otherwise it's not going to be an XR game. And then on top of that, it helps to enable, shaders, save and restart. Once that saves and restart, you grab your headset. I have a Quest 3 here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click F5 to run. And the thing is, in my headset, I'm going to make sure that I have SteamVR on. So I'm going to show what that looks like. Okay, to make your VR system work, what you want to do is you want to connect to Steam. So I have the Steam app installed. It's Steam Link installed on my Quest 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click connect. And it's connecting to my computer, which name is Pingu. Oculus Quest 3 is this headset. I'm going to just click continue because that doesn't matter. And it takes me into, the what do you call it? It takes me into the Steam home. As you can see, it's loading up, taking some time. And then once I'm in my Steam home, I can actually do my VR, like I can play my VR game. This is how I test my VR games. Okay, now you can see what my VR headset's seeing. So in the camera, you can see my VR headset's there. So I have to put my thumb in the headset to make it work. Okay, it's not going to work here. Okay, cool. Head in the VR headset, and it's not going to work like really close to my desk because my boundary isn't set up for this area. Ooh, lagging. But the idea is once you have SteamVR set up and running in your headset, you can also click select current scene and you can run the scene and it will connect. So SteamVR connects to Godot because of that script, and we can actually move our hands around in VR. As you can see, if I move my hands like, how can I do this? So left is like this. So you can see I'm moving my hand around, keeping my head still. Right hand's moving around, left hand moving around. Once I have these working, I can actually start creating the buttons. But however, the only issue is I actually need to use the controller. So you can see over here, I've now switched to controllers. I didn't do any magic, this is basically uncut, and I'm following like the regular Godot procedures. So I have my left controller here, my right controller here, and there's buttons on these, so there's buttons and whatnot, so we're going to be able to use the buttons. I'm only going to be showing the buttons today. These buttons, I'll do the joysticks later. But essentially, to make the buttons work, what we want to do is, so if I just X out of that, if we go over here to our player scene, and we click on our XR controller, so I'm just going to rename this to left hand. So I have my left hand there, and I have my right hand. Am I spelling that right? Right hand? Okay, so the idea is, I have my left hand here, and if I click on my left hand and I click node, you can see we have some signals here. So we have some button press signals, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to show you what happens if I connect my left hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do $ left hand, or not connect, but button pressed dot connect, and then I'm going to put in the signal name that the function name I want to call every time I press a button. So left hand button press. So that's the function name, not signal name, sorry. Signal name is button pressed. So once button pressed has happened, and also if you have to just remember that it takes in a name. So we just get the button name. We don't really call like, you know, button, like we don't say if X is pressed and then we set X is like equal to this input and like the X controller input. It's just automatically set for us because everyone has the same controller, so to speak. So let's just do button name. It's a string, of course, and then void is just for static typing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print button name to make it easy here, but I'm also going to go over here in label 3D. I'm going to click on my player and I'm going to add a label 3D. I'm just going to drag that in front of me, and I'm going to put some text here saying lol, I guess. So, okay, it's facing me, and I know what it's saying, and what I'm going to go over here and do is I'm going to also say label.text equal button name, and over here on my left, I'm going to say, you know, this is the left label, so I guess I already took it, so it doesn't really matter. So label, like just a regular label 3D is left, and label 3D 2 is right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing for right hand, and I'm going to do right hand button press, and what I'm going to do here is button name string void, and I'm going to do the same thing, which is button name, but this time I'm going to add right to it, and I'm going to do label 3d2.text equals button name. And now I'm going to run my scene. Everything should seem fine. Hello? Button name is not declared in the current scope. Why is that the case? Right hand button press, button name. Oh, did I spell this wrong? Oops, I spelled that wrong. I'm currently wearing a headset. I can't see numbers that well, or names or words. But essentially, if I have this open and I have my VR view on the side, just so you can see what I see in the headset. So this is like the Godot scene, and this is like the VR scene, which is what the one on the right is what I see in my head. But essentially, grip click is when so on my left hand, if grip click is this one, grip click, and then you can see trigger touch, and then there's trigger click. So it's kind of weird, but the idea is, if I click it, it like goes for a second and then touches, you know, like a hold, so to speak. And then there's also a button release, which we'll get to, but you know, that's how we can detect if we're clicking and not clicking. Okay, there's also primary touch, which is me just lightly tapping the joystick. I'm not actually moving the joystick at all. Maybe I am, I'm not sure, but this is like when you get really close to the joystick. Getting really, really close to the joystick. Okay, so I have to look left. Getting really close to the joystick. I barely even touch it, and it turns to primary touch. So this is my left controller. Then we have the AX button, and we have the BY button. On the right hand, it would be AX and BY, same thing. Of course, everything applies to the right hand as well. And we know which buttons we want to press. So now if I want to make a fist, I have to make sure grip click and trigger like click have been pressed. And then obviously I don't want the fist anymore when I let go. So we're going to work off that logic. Of course, this logic is based off first principles. Like anyone could have thought of this. I'm not special. It's just that it takes a second to get used to this VR thinking, that, you know, you have a button press and whatnot. Now that we know how to get our button presses, let's make sure we can make this make sense. So what I want to do is I want to make a hand script to share between them. So hand script, and this will be shared between XRController left hand and the XRController right hand. So I just want to load hand script. So you can see it says load, and essentially that's the same thing as me just drag and dropping this hand script. So anything that happens in this hand script, the left hand, will also happen to the right hand now. So I don't have to like duplicate my code. Okay, so in my ready function, I want to connect the button press signal, connect to button pressed, and I want to do button released, connect to button released. Okay, once I have these, button release and then function button pressed. How can I do this quickly? There we go. If I do Control Shift, it gets me two cursors. So boom, boom. Okay, and on top of that, Oh, okay, perfect. On top of that, we also have to just type in button name once more. So again, we just connected the signals, and that means now whenever I press something on my left hand or right hand, the same thing will happen. And what I want to really do right now is I want to say var is gripped. So that is not gripped, but gripped. So false. That's if I'm pressing with my middle fingers, like holding, and then touch, I believe, is the one on the top. Is it? Be quiet, phone. Yes, so trigger touch right. Oh, so it's trigger touch. If I touch the trigger and I'm gripping, then I want to say I'm in fist mode. So I'm making a fist. If I have just grip, that means I'm not clicking the trigger. That means I'm pointing. And if I do, let's see. Oh yeah, I also want to get reference to the label I'm going to be modifying. So label I'm modifying, modding, I guess. Modding is label 3D. Is a type of label 3D. Modding. Okay, var is gripped and var is pressed. It's press. False. So if button name, I know this is not the best way to do it, but this is a starter way to do it, and hopefully you can build on this and make your own ideas. But if button name is, you know, trigger touch, trigger underscore touch, then is pressed, is top pressed. Let's do is top pressed because that's like the top of the controller. Is top pressed equal to true. And by the very same logic, we can say if the trigger touch button is the one that's released, then set this to false. And now we can do another if statement, honestly, and we can just say if button name is equal to, what was it, gripped? What is it? It is trigger touch, no. I don't see grip here. Grip click. Oh, if grip click is grip or click, then is gripped equal to true. And then of course the exact same idea applies to false, you know, if it's not clicked. So now what I want to do is I want to continuously check every frame if is top pressed and is gripped. Then what I want to do is I want to do label I'm modding dot text is equal or it's equal to fist, and then else is equal to you know, open hand. Let's just say open hand. Let's make it simple. Okay. Now the crazy part is if I run it, of course it's going to break, and that's because if you think about it, in my scene I never really set what those labels are. So my label's not showing here. Why is my label not showing? Let me just close this. So if I close it, not seeing anything. Oh, it has to be exported. Okay, export var. Oh dear. Export var. So export var essentially lets me, you know, modify it from the outside. So right hand has label 3D2 and left hand has label 3D. Now if I run the scene, you should see, okay, it doesn't work with hands, but if my controllers are active, which they don't seem to be, okay, I think meta, my headset needs to realize I'm trying to use the controllers. Okay, SteamVR has the controllers, and you can see when I click both, fist. If I do this, which is me sticking my middle fingers out, nothing really should happen, and it shouldn't say open hand, or it should say open hand because, you know, my hands are kind of open technically. I can't let go of my other two fingers which hold the controllers, my third finger and pinky. But I also want to do pointing, so that would have to be if I'm gripping, but not as top pressed. So if I go over here, if is top pressed and is grip fist, then it would have to just be else if is gripped. If it's gripped, then it's pointing, and then yeah, so pointing, grip or fist, and then open hand, pointing, grip, grip, fist, yeah, and then open hand. So pointing, open hand, fist, pointing, and you get the idea. That's how you can simply make a, you know, these different types of states for your hands. And obviously when you have these different states, you can change what the hand does. I'm not going to show it in this, but I have an example. It's not that hard. I won't show you how to like actually do it step by step, but I can just give you the idea. So the idea here is, I know there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm just like learning the VR stuff myself, but if you're looking through my left eye, and I have my hand here, if I close, you can see that my hand changes. So that therefore I can like actually like show the character or the person, you know, oh, you have a sprite 3D here, you know, literally a sprite 3D. If you are clenching your fist, something happens. You know, you could essentially do that. And it's literally as simple as me going. It's literally as simple as me going, if button name equals grip click, then is gripping true? And if gripping is true, then set the open hand sprite to true, like visible to true, and then set the fist to, like, you know, false. So I'm explaining this one. But then if I'm gripping, if I'm showing the gripping, like the state, the variables change to show me gripping, then, you know, literally just open the hand is false. And then if I'm actually gripping, then show me the gripping one, like the fist. And that's essentially how you would go about making the fist, the pointing, the open hand. Of course, the animations between them is like a art thing. I don't deal with art that much. I deal with the program behind it, and now you can easily do it yourself in Godot VR. This code over here will be available on GitHub. Not that you would need it because it's very simple, but apart from that, have an amazing day. Please like and subscribe if this helped you. Do I want to put that? I'll leave it. Okay. Oh dear. Left hand, so I'm just going to continue and pass through. Oops. Okay. Oh dear, I have to move the VR stuff out of the way. Oh, because I put my VR headset on and record. Okay.